Tonight on Reporting Scotland, a BBC investigation reveals Scotland's central role in the controversial export of thousands of young calves. A council chief apologises for the closure of a newly built school campus in Dumfries over concerns about safety.
They should be celebrating the new building, and actually we're having to close, so it's an absolute disappointing situation for this council.
We'll have the latest from Dumfries. Also coming up on the programme.
Log into your app.
Is this the future of banking? We look at how our finances are increasingly being dealt with in a virtual world. We're at Hampden, where Scotland face Albania in the new Nations League, hoping to put that defeat by Belgium behind them. And we meet the new boss at St Mirren, who says he's not concerned about the high turnover of managers at the club. Good evening. A BBC investigation has found Scotland is at the heart of a supply chain in the controversial export of young calves. More than 5,000 were shipped last year to Spain and Italy. Scottish Labour and the Greens are calling for the practice to be banned. Campaigners say the animals are too young to face the long journey. The industry says the alternative to export is to shoot them at birth. Samantha Poling reports.
This is the key link in the export chain, the port of Cairnryan. Week after week I watched as livestock trucks boarded the ferry for Northern Ireland. Some of them carrying calves. They're then shipped via Irish ports across to Europe. And this is what we're talking about. These are dairy bull calves being sold in an English market.
These guys are only between 2 and 4 weeks of age, and they are absolutely tiny.
Because they're boys and obviously can't join a dairy herd, the industry has no use for them. So in Scotland, the Farmers' Union says it's either shoot them at birth or ship them abroad, and export is better.
I don't think we are particularly comfortable with it. It certainly would be the bottom of our list of wants for what we do with those calves. But if we come down to the point where it's either that or shooting them, then it's marginally better.
We've established for the first time where many are going. Here in Spain's Catalonia region, where the animals are fattened before slaughter. And we've discovered the age they're exported, between 2 and 3 weeks old. In Spain, once calves have been fattened, many will enter the general market, and some face further export, like these cattle being shipped to North Africa, where they'll be slaughtered. Footage of what happens to them there is too graphic for us to show you.
I find this really difficult to watch.
Yeah.
I can't show that on television.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes, I know it's very hard, but sometimes we need to do it.
The conditions we saw would be illegal in the UK. Campaigners say subjecting calves to long journeys like these is unnecessary, and instead they should be reared for the beef market here. They want the Scottish Government to intervene and stop the trade.
I live in Scotland and actually love Scotland, so it gives me no pleasure to say it, but I think that Scotland's reputation for good welfare is being undermined by the Scottish Government's clumsy attempt to justify this inhumane trade.
A new poll suggests 3/4 of Scots want the calf export trade to end. The Scottish Government says it will consider the results of a consultation launched by the UK Government on the future of the trade, but that live export is an important option for Scotland's economy. Samantha Poling, Reporting Scotland.
And you can see the investigation in full in Disclosure, The Dark Side of Dairy, tonight on BBC One Scotland at 8:30. 4 men have appeared in court charged with attempted murder after an incident on the A98 in Murray at the weekend. It happened in the Cullen area on Saturday afternoon. 4 men appeared at Elgin Sheriff Court today. Kyle Urquhart, Ian Ewing and Patrick Noble, all of Aberdeen, and Ian Yeomans of Peterhead made no plea and were released on bail. A jury has been urged to convict a man accused of taking part in an armed robbery at the Gleneagles Hotel last year. A trial at the High Court in Edinburgh heard that more than £500,000 worth of Rolex watches were stolen during the raid at a jeweller's inside the exclusive Perthshire retreat. Prosecutors described it as a simple case of whodunit. The advocate depute told the jury that the evidence should leave them in no doubt that 42-year-old Richard Fleming is guilty. Mr Fleming denies charges of armed robbery and assault, claiming he was in Glasgow at the time. The trial will resume tomorrow with a closing speech from his defence QC. A council chief executive has apologised to children, parents and staff over the closure of a new school campus in Dumfries on safety grounds. Inspections are being carried out at the £28 million super school, which has been shut indefinitely because of safety concerns. On Friday, a large electronic whiteboard came off a wall and struck a pupil. The complex has faced serious problems since it opened last month. Here's our education correspondent, Jamie McIver.
I'm kind of glad that I'm off because I get to play with my friends.
Katie and Tegan are best friends. They're both in primary 5 and today's been an unplanned day off.
What do you think of the new school building?
I really like it, but I'm kind of scared if anything happens to me. Nothing to do.
And you must be missing your school friends as well. But at least you've got Katie here.
They're inseparable.
Their school's closed while inspectors check every single fixture and fitting. Katie's father wonders if the opening in August should have been delayed.
Parents up Lochside and who their kids go to this school are really worried. I mean, they're frightened to send their kids to school in case, touch wood and hairy wood, that it comes in threes. Well, it has come in threes, and I hope the next one's not going to be a major disaster.
And there have been 3 serious incidents. Weeks before the building opened, a ceiling collapsed. Days after it opened, a door came off and hurt a child. Then last week, an electronic whiteboard came loose, again injuring a child. The council wants to be 100% confident the school is safe before it reopens. It says it lost confidence in earlier reassurances from the contractors.
I'm extremely angry and disappointed, and I'd have to apologise to the children, their parents, staff and the wider community. They should be celebrating the new building, and actually we're having to close. So it's an absolute disappointing situation for this council and our community.
The contractors, Graham's, insist the board, which came loose on Friday, was subject to excessive force. Katie and Tegan will miss 3 days of their education, but it could take months to restore the confidence of some parents and answer any fundamental questions which may arise over why such a high-profile project appears to have gone seriously wrong. Jamie McIver, reporting Scotland, Dumfries.
Well, let's join Jamie now. Jamie, you say it might take months to get answers. Why so long?
Well, Jackie, simply finding out if the fixtures and fittings are safe and, if necessary, putting things right, that's a relatively straightforward part and hopefully shouldn't take long. But if the council concludes that the problems here are the result of something more fundamental, perhaps in how the project was managed, then getting to the bottom of that could certainly take time. As with many school buildings now, the council is in effect the tenant, the customer here. The school wasn't actually designed and built by the council in the way that may once have happened, and there may be questions over how such projects are managed, and that would certainly be a national issue as much as a local one. What we know tonight is that the children will be back at school on Thursday, but we still don't know which school building they'll actually be going to, and the council will be giving that information to parents just as soon as possible.
Jamie, thank you. A driving instructor has been jailed for 4 years for sexually abusing 14 female students while they were in his car in Fife. 55-year-old Neil Addison carried out the attacks on young women between 2014 and 2017. Last month at Dundee Sheriff Court, he was found guilty of 14 charges. Addison had denied touching of a sexual nature. A man has appeared in court accused of making an improvised explosive device in his home with intent to endanger life. Houses were evacuated in Dundee last Thursday after bomb disposal officers were called to a property in the east end of the city. 30-year-old Alan Peach made no plea when he appeared in private at Dundee Sheriff Court on 4 charges. He was remanded in custody. With mental health incidents increasingly the focus of 999 calls, Police Scotland is working with the NHS to tackle the issue. Last week, we saw how officers are piloting a response team that can help people avoid ending up in custody. But if a crime has taken place, there are now changes to the way people are dealt with. Here's our health correspondent, Lisa Summers.
It's Friday, August the 31st.
Police Scotland, how can I help?
And for the police in Glasgow, the night shift is just beginning.
Now, what's your grand's name? Okay, and does she take any medication at all?
Is the Paisley Road toll area.
In the Command and Control Centre, over the course of this evening, call handlers will deal with over 9,400 999 or 101 calls. Increasingly, mental health is a factor and people need medical help. If someone is taken into custody, then measures are being put in place.
The fact you've got a mental health problem doesn't alleviate that you've committed a crime. That still has to be dealt with. However, we still have to take into considerations people's welfare and people's healthcare. So that's when we would bring in our NHS colleagues who are based with us, and they're all fully trained to do mental health assessments here.
A few occasions where the custody staff have come and said to us, can you come and have a look? They're acting a bit odd, and then you go through and they've been through the process, they've maybe been in, they haven't disclosed it because they're quite paranoid. And once we've had a chat with them and done some of the records, they're very acutely unwell, so we can divert them. And also we help with the courts, so the courts are aware before people actually hit the court process.
This man has told staff he has mental health problems. Officers are given additional training to spot issues. They'll monitor him across his time in custody and make sure he's assessed by the duty nurse. A third of those who come to custody will report having mental health problems. It is becoming a core part of all policing.
Call from a female, I've spoken to her while her carers were there. She's phoned back in.
Meanwhile, tonight the calls continue, where mental health incidents are identified.
That's an affirmative, yes, we're just around the corner over.
A new community triage team is asked to respond. Police and paramedics work together. They can direct people to the right help. It can avoid people ending up in custody when they don't need to be there, or spending hours in A&E.
The triage team is a pilot project. It's only been up and running for 3 weeks, but already they're seeing positive results. It all feeds into part of the bigger picture and how the police, the ambulance service and the NHS are working more closely together to improve the way that they deal with mental health on the front line. Lisa Summers reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
It's almost 18 minutes to 7. A reminder now of tonight's top story. Animal welfare groups call for a ban on the controversial export of thousands of young calves from Scotland after a BBC investigation. And still to come, we meet the former PE teacher who's starting his first full-time job as a football manager with St Mirren. We all know banks are changing. Branches are closing as accounts are checked and bills paid on mobile phones or on laptops. The technology innovation driving these changes in the finance industry is known as fintech. Well, in the second report on the collapse and recovery of Royal Bank of Scotland 10 years after it had to be rescued, our business and economy editor Douglas Fraser comes face to face with the future of finance.
Log into your app.
Meet Cora, a very busy bank teller.
Is it for work or for a holiday? It's for work.
Cora is programmed both to become more intelligent as she gains information about you and also to respond to your emotions.
We are trialling Cora in Liverpool branch out of it as an experiment to see if it works. Customers actually enjoy it, and it takes away if they've got a little bit of an embarrassing question. They know that's not a real human being, but they can get the answer.
In the former executive suite where Fred Goodwin steered RBS into calamity, Cora is part of the open door approach, inviting collaborators into a laboratory of financial technology, or fintech.
I think you are seeing banking change dramatically. Technology is changing every industry at the moment, and banking is part of that. And if banks don't respond to that, and make it easy for customers to do business, somebody else will do it with them. And it may not be a traditional bank that does that.
Change in the way we manage our finances is not just being driven by the big banks in Scotland, it's also down to small companies. And there's nowhere in Britain with more going on than this innovation centre here in Edinburgh.
You have a real-time dashboard of your finances, and you can very quickly see, how much money you've got, where it's all gone, and how much you've got left.
Aged 10, this is one of the more established innovators. 20 developers so far, soon to double its workforce to capture the value in all that data.
That's correct.
A study of the potential for fintech shows it could create 15,000 jobs in Scotland if the right decisions are made. If they're not, 14,000 Scottish finance jobs could be lost.
Scotland is ideally placed for a number of reasons. One is we have a strong financial services heritage. We have a great sort of track record around innovation and entrepreneurship. We've got tremendous universities providing the new talent and the research into these new areas, and a very supportive public and government sector providing the right environment.
John Glenn, the Whitehall Minister for the Finance Sector, was in Edinburgh recently, mingling with entrepreneurs and hearing what they've got planned, such as a programme for school kids with real and virtual money, which might even help their parents.
We give them real-life expectations in terms of pocket money management, but also have their games where they're learning, they're using the money there. It's not real money, it's pseudo money, but they're seeing how that would affect them had it been in the real world. So giving them a real-time application for decision making and making good choices.
Another innovation for the growing army of freelance workers or giggers who find it hard to secure loans.
We're working with the lenders, working with the contractors, the giggers, bringing them together, allowing the data to be onboarded faster, quicker, more efficiently, allowing their data, and when I say data I mean their earnings, their income, their expenditure, their identification, effectively bringing this closer together so that the lenders can make faster decisions.
And with all that information on one app, it's also a place to secure work.
The data is the new gold.
That's just the front end facing customers. Behind the scenes, cryptocurrencies transforming the way money makes the world go round faster. Douglas Fraser, reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
A woman in her 80s has died after being struck by a lorry in Aberdeen. It happened at a roundabout in the St Macher Drive area of the city this morning. Officers would like anyone who witnessed the incident to contact them. The tyre maker Michelin has warned that jobs could be lost at its plant in Dundee because of what it calls extremely challenging trading conditions. It's set to cut the number of tyres produced in Dundee because of what it says is an influx of cheap imports from Asia. 850 people are employed at the plant. Shetland has been picked as the preferred location for the UK's first deep-water decommissioning port. It'll allow the largest North Sea oil and gas platforms to be dismantled in the islands. However, up to £40 million would have to be raised to fund the project. Already work is underway in the harbour to break up the former Buchan Alpha oil platform. Football now, and it is a big night for Scotland and for their manager Alec McLeish. Following Friday's 4-0 defeat by Belgium, tonight's game against Albania marks a return to competitive action, and there's little room for slip-ups. Alistair Lamont is at Hampden.
Well, in many ways, the result on Friday night was immaterial. The reverse, though, is true tonight. Scotland have to get off to a winning start in the Nations League against Albania because this could represent our best chance of getting to Euro 2020. Well, joining me to look forward to the game is the former Scotland captain, Willie Miller. Willie, I wonder just how easy is it for the players to put Friday night's debacle behind them?
Well, they quite simply have to, don't they? I think individual errors defensively cost us dearly. I suppose you can look at the game and there were some positive aspects to it, particularly going forward, but tonight they've got to cut out the defensive errors, there's no doubt about that. It is an opportunity to qualify probably by the easy route for the Euro, so Scotland have just got to take it.
Let's have a look at the team then. Not drastic changes from Friday night. Looks like a similar sort of setup in terms of three at the back, but Stephen O'Donnell coming in at right wing back. But up front, it looks like Johnny Russell and Stephen Naismith could play up front.
Yeah, I thought Naismith might come in. You know, his form early in the season has been great. He's got experience as well. A little bit surprised that Lee Griffiths isn't playing, obviously, so you would imagine that, you know, it's an injury issue that he's got. Two wing backs are capable of getting forward, but they are defensive players as well. So I think the creativity's maybe lacking perhaps a little bit, but maybe Alex just going for, you know, the security of not losing goals as we did against Belgium, but also the opportunity for these two wing backs to get forward and create opportunities for the two strikers.
Certainly options on the bench, but in terms of the opposition, we don't know an awful lot about Albania in the sense that we've not played them before, but Scotland aren't in a position where they can take anyone lightly at the moment, are they?
I don't think so, no. I mean, we've fallen foul to lesser nations than Albania. You know, perhaps Lithuania is one. We can't afford to drop anything tonight, I don't think, and expect to win this group. You know, it's only 3 teams in it as well. You've got to get off to a positive start at home. You've got to take the 3 points. Alec will know that. The players will know that. I think we are capable of doing it, but you know, we've got to be better and more effective than we were against Belgium.
Thank you very much, Willie. Well, it's Alec McLeish's first competitive match back in charge of Scotland. BBC Scotland has it covered live, as always, on radio, on Sports Sound, live updates on the website as well, and highlights from 11:15 on BBC One Scotland.
Alistair Lamont there. The new St Mirren manager, Oran Kearney, says he's not concerned by the club's recent high turnover of managers. He becomes the club's 7th permanent manager in 4 years and says he's excited by the challenge. A warning, Jane Lewis's report contains some flash photography.
Oran Kearney, the latest man to be handed the St Mirren manager's job. All smiles on day one, but this club has seen managers come and go in recent years. Since the sacking of Danny Lennon in May 2014, St Mirren have appointed and lost 6 managers. A far cry from managerial consistency. Tommy Craig, Gary Teal, Ian Murray, Alex Rae, Jack Ross and Alan Stubbs, all in the job over the last 4 years, with Ross the only one to leave for another club and Stubbs sacked after just 3 months.
With my recollection, I think that the new board have only been in place for maybe 1 or 2 of those managers, so I think it would be unfair to maybe speak about old regimes or whatever else. And Jack obviously left for reasons nothing to do with the board. It does feel like a family club, and I know the fans, particularly last year, had a great time and joyous times, very similar to what we had at Coleraine last year, and it's really something that I want to try and tap into and kick on with.
Kearney takes charge of a St Mirren side lying second bottom of the Scottish Premiership. Losing their last 4 matches marked the end for Alan Stubbs, and after just 9 games, he was sacked.
We just felt as things were going, it wasn't working, and Alan probably felt that himself as well. So, as I say, yeah, we've got to get it right. We're no hiding behind the fact is we want stability at the club. We said that when we first came in 2 years ago. And that's very important to this football club.
Taking on the manager's job in Paisley signals a new life for Kearney. While he was managing Coleraine on a part-time basis, he also worked as a PE teacher. A new challenge awaits.
I've had a great 8 years, nearly 8 years at Coleraine. I've been 16 years in school as well, and if I'm being honest, I feel the 16 years in school will serve me as good as the 8 years in football with Coleraine, because the skills that are needed to deal with people, if you're being honest, and build relationships are so important, I think, in modern day football.
And first up for the new St Mirren boss, a home game against Celtic. Jane Lewis, reporting Scotland.
Cut off in our prime. Well, let's see what the weather has in store for us all. Colser.
Jackie, thank you. Good evening. Well, autumnal weather is in store. That's the feeling for the rest of this week, in fact. And for today, for many of us, it was overcast. We had outbreaks of rain, and it was quite windy as well, especially across the west. This was a scene sent in from one of our weather watchers, a moody picture here with overcast grey skies. And for the rest of this week, it does remain unsettled. There will be further blustery showers merging together at times to produce some longer spells of rain. It remains windy and it will feel cool, especially in that wind. And the reason being, we have a strong jet stream at the moment, and we are drawing in areas of low pressure and weather fronts throughout the week. Outbreaks of showery rain, and you can see how tight the isobars are across parts of the northwest in particular. Here we could have gusts reaching gale force overnight tonight and early tomorrow morning. So here's the map for this evening, and you can see outbreaks of showery rain. There will be some drier weather for a time during the night, especially across the northeast where we have some clearer skies. But elsewhere across the north, the rain becomes confined towards the Northern Isles, the Western Isles, and by the early hours, thicker cloud and outbreaks of rain pushing into the southwest. Now, temperatures dipping to around 10 to 12 Celsius, but where we do have those clearer skies, maybe a few degrees lower. And these black circles, they represent the wind gusts. So we could have gusts of 50 to potentially potentially 60 miles per hour along the west coast and for the Western Isles and for the Northern Isles later as well. So for tomorrow, a windy start to the day. There will be some outbreaks of showery rain, but it's not a washout. There will be some dry weather around, some sunny spells breaking through the cloud as well, especially for the south and the east of the country, with those showers mainly confined to the northwest and for the far north. So if you're heading out around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, dry weather around for many across parts of the southwest into the borders too. And there'll be some spells of sunshine, but it will be quite windy for many across the country. Those showers will still be heavy, so if you catch one, there could be the odd rubble of thunder, maybe some lightning in the mix too. The best of the sunshine perhaps for the northeast, where temperatures could climb up to 18 Celsius, and some frequent showers for Orkney, but drier and brighter for the afternoon for Shetland. Into the evening, those showers will continue for a time, some clear spells in the mix as well, and the winds will tend to ease somewhat by the evening and overnight. And looking ahead to Wednesday, well, outbreaks of showery rain once again, mainly across parts of the northwest and for the far north, some sunny spells too, and temperatures 13 to 16 Celsius, but those showers come back for Thursday. There will be some dry weather at times and still feeling cool and breezy. And that's your forecast.
Thank you very much, Colzo. And now a reminder of tonight's main news. The inquest into the deaths of 5 people killed in last year's Westminster Bridge attack has heard how lives were torn apart by 82 seconds of high and terrible drama. 4 members of the public and a police officer were killed by Khalid Masood on the 22nd of March last year. Masood was then shot dead by armed police officers. A BBC investigation has found Scotland is at the heart of a supply chain in the controversial export of young calves. Scottish Labour and the Greens are calling for the practice to be banned, but the industry says the alternative to export is to shoot calves at birth. And that's Reporting Scotland. Join me for the late bulletin at 10:30 if you can. Until then, from all the team, good evening.